Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes and welcome to Survivor 43's episode 12 recap. Episode 12. We are almost there. We've got one more episode after this one, but there's still a lot of game to be played. Now, let's talk first of all what happened last week. If you remember, we lost Sammy. Man, Sammy's playing such a great game, but we lost Sammy. We are now down to 6 players. That's all we've got left. And here's what's interesting. Of those 6 players, we've got 2 from each of the original tribes. Isn't that funny how that works out? Is it because these 2 from each tribe are working together as allies? To some degree, perhaps so. But yeah, 2 from each tribe are left. And these are all strong players. Going into this thing, I may have said Cassidy and Carla weren't necessarily quite as strong as the others. I take all that back. They've been playing quite the game. Of the 6 that are left, I think Jesse's the only one that hadn't won a competition, and he's certainly made up for it with a lot of strategic play. So all 6 players doing fantastic. All 6 would be valid, justifiable winners of this thing. 2 episodes left, so let's talk about what happened this evening. Now, as I mentioned, we just lost Sammy. We've got a little talking going on from Owen, a little confessional. Talking about how he's happy the way the votes went, except he's got a little disappointment that Carla ended up voting against Sammy also. Now, if you remember, he had a pretty good plan, I think, set up where he was going to try to get Carla to vote against Cassidy, thinking Cassidy was going home. And as a result, then there'd be some bad blood between the 2 ladies left on the island. He's disappointed that Carla ended up not doing it at the end of it. And I'm still a little surprised why I think she just saw the writing on the wall and understood what was going on at the end. It worked to her advantage. Did it? I don't know. We're going to talk about that as well, because Owen is talking about the fact that just because that didn't work doesn't mean that he's not going to still try to drive a wedge between Cassidy and Carla, get these 2 going against each other, make it easier to send one of them out the door. Of course, then they turn right around and send the other one out the door. Now you got 4 guys left as the final 4 in this group. So that's Owen's plan. And as part of that plan, he's talking to Cassidy and telling her, saying, hey, just so you know, Carla was gunning for you. You think the 2 of y'all are tight, but Carla was ready to get you out the door. And Cassidy almost immediately questions Carla about whether this is true or not. While it's just the 2 of them sitting on a beach together. And Carla immediately denies that it's true. It is. But Carla immediately denies it. She turns on a little waterworks and acts all offended and hurt that Cassidy would dare even suggest something like that after they've worked so hard together. I think Carla mentions that she'd saved Cassidy twice when she could have not done so and all that. I get it, and it works. I mean, at this point, it seems to be working pretty well. Wouldn't it be just as easy, though, to just say, look, these guys are trying to pit us against each other. Just think about why they would say something like that, Cassidy. It works to their game advantage to try to have you and I working against each other. It seems, and of course, it's easy for us that we get to watch everything here on TV as opposed to these castaways on the island. But it seems pretty transparent that everyone's trying to drive wedges against everyone else, and that you could use that example. Carla turns on the waterworks instead, and she does a pretty good job of it. But we do have that. Eventually, we've got Carla basically approaching Jesse and saying, look, Cassidy, Cassidy thinks I was going against her. Can you try to calm her down so that my thing isn't blown? And Jesse says, sure. At which point he immediately goes down and tells Cassidy, says, yeah, Carla was gunning for you. Of course she was gunning for you. So we have not just Owen, but Jesse also continuing to try to match these 2 up against each other. It's a little, as long as they're going against each other, they're not going against you, right? So we've got that. Now, here's something I thought was interesting when I saw the show last night. We didn't see Gabler maybe playing quite as much strategy, at least in the first part of the episode, as some of the others. But I thought Gabler made an amazing strategic comment when he was talking to some of the other tribe mates. He talks about that Cody and Jesse have been playing a game where maybe they both have very similar games to one another. He mentions the same thing about Cassidy and Carla. that they're tight. They've both been playing very similar games to each other, that either one of them can make claims for some of the same moves throughout the season, that if it was the two of them against each other, perhaps it'd be difficult to claim the move as your own because the other person would be making the claim as well. It was almost just a bit of a throwaway comment. They didn't spend a lot of time showing it. But I got to think when Gabler says something like that to these other castaways, they got to be thinking, what are they going to do at the final three to differentiate their game from the other two people that are up there with them? And so Gabler, I thought, did a fantastic job of just very subtly pointing out why it may not be in Jesse's best interest to take Cody or vice versa. It may not be in Carla's best interest to take Cassidy and vice versa. Again, I thought it was just a great little comment. And I think based on some of the stuff we see a little bit later in the episode, people took that to heart. We'll see how that works out. Now, let's talk about the reward challenge itself. We had a reward challenge and an immunity challenge this episode, so a lot going on. The castaways are playing for iced coffee, iced teas, with lots of pastries to go along with it. That's fine. And at this stage in the game, you don't play for fishing equipment or tarps. You're way past that. You're playing for a little nutrition at the very end of this thing to help you get to the end in top peak quality as much as possible. And there's nothing wrong with pastries and iced tea and a little caffeine from that coffee. But I'd be looking for some steaks and some carbs and some things that are really going to power you through. I'm never going to say, when Jeff says, is this reward worth playing for? No one's ever going to say, yeah, no, I'll sit this one out. Of course you're going to play for it, but I was a little disappointed with the reward. I want a big old T-bone steak at this point in the game, Jeff. You made it this far, reward us players, our us castaways, right? Nah, it's not to be, but it's still lots of sugar and caffeine, so everyone's all on board with it. Interesting little competition. A little bit of an obstacle course puzzle type situation, but of the 6 players, we've got them split up into 2 different groups of 3, random draws. They're split into 2 teams of 3. One person strapped inside a giant ball, a hamster ball type thing, but they're strapped in, so they're going to be turning upside down, sideways, whichever way they get rolled. So one person inside, the other 2 teammates are on the outside pushing the ball, but they're blindfolded. So as a result, the person inside is going to have to be giving commands about push left, push right, push straight ahead, things like that, all while they're upside down, getting spun every which direction. And the idea is that they have to, the 3 people on the team have to put, or the 2 people pushing have to push the ball through a fairly long maze, through some different gates, over some mounds of sawdust, things like that. Eventually, they'll push it up onto a little resting position area. Once they do that, they need to make sure that the person inside is lined up more or less correctly so they can see a ball maze that is right next to this little position, this little platform. The 2 blindfolded players then have to, still staying blindfolded, make their way to this ball maze and using their hands to manipulate the puzzle different directions, roll the ball into the final pit to win the thing. Very hard to do while you're blindfolded. So they're going to have to listen to the instructions of the person who's still inside the ball. A really cool looking competition. And again, they're split up into 2 groups of 3. So one team, we've got Owen inside the ball with Cody and Carla pushing. In the other ball is Cassidy and Gabler and Jesse are pushing. Now, we know there was a random draw for the teams, but I assume that they then got to strategize and decide who was going to actually be in the ball versus who was pushing, right? I think so, because it seems like it makes sense perhaps for Cassidy and Owen to be the 2 that are in the ball. But you got to make sure whoever's in that ball does not get easily queasy or nauseous, because there's a lot of rolling going on, a whole lot of rolling going on. So we see this competition start. Owen's team takes the early lead. Actually, Owen's doing a fantastic job at giving directions on, push a little left, a little right. You need to do this, that. Owen's he's using clock management. Not that kind of clock management. Clock management as in 2:30 to your position. You need to roll it there. You need to roll it to 3 o'clock. So he's giving compass clock type directions. That's working very well for him. They get to the ball maze well ahead of Cassidy's team, but as often happens on these things, Cassidy's team has caught up. It actually comes down to a very close finish. Both teams have the ball near the final spot, within inches of each other, but by a split second, Owen and Cody and Carla win the competitions, they're getting caffeine, they're getting iced teas, and they're getting a whole lot of pastries. Oh Lord, I could load myself up on that. Now here's the thing: you've got 3 people on each tribe, regardless of who is going to get the reward. And not that the reward isn't important, but regardless of that, is the bigger concern at this point in time who you randomly got assigned to and what conversations you can have with your other 2 people. And just as importantly, those other 3 people, what conversations are they having with each other? Because there's going to be plenty of game talk. I think I would be whichever winning side, losing side. That would be my biggest concern at this point in time, more so even than the nutrition that I was taking in, but I'd still partake. All right, so we've got some more conversations taking place. Carla is playing very emotional in front of Cody and Owen, saying about everyone has said that I have an idol, and it's ruined my entire game. It's horrible. I haven't been able to play the way I wanted to because people just keep making this assumption over and over. And she's really, really turning on the waterworks. And it works because we see a conversation a little bit later with Cody and Owen both saying, look, I don't know that she has an idol based on the way she's talking. She does, but she's convinced them that she doesn't have the idol. Now, we'll talk about that. If she has convinced them that well, and then later it turns out that she does have an idol, which eventually they are going to figure out, excuse me, is that not going to create just a little bit more mistrust, a little bit more fear about her ability to sway people's opinions based on this conversation? I think she's got to be careful about convincing people of things that eventually they're going to find out aren't true. We'll see. But they're both thinking that because she doesn't have an idol, they actually may have a better chance at getting her out. So in some ways, this has backfired against Carla. Her claiming so much she doesn't have an idol, they're like, all right, well, now we can go after her then if that's the case. Yeah, be careful with this stuff, right? All right, meanwhile, sorry about that, guys. Meanwhile, we've got Gabler really pushing Jesse and Cassidy to go after Cody and Carla. He's seeing those 2 as the targets, and they need to go after. Again, this gets back to that conversation about him, and I think it may even take place here, where he's saying, you don't have someone up there that's the same position as you. So he's making that push again. And Cassidy, as much work as Carla did convincing Cody and Jesse that she doesn't have an idol, Cassidy shuts it all down by saying, nah, Carla, she's got an idol. Of course she's got an idol. Yeah, guys, don't think otherwise. So, of course, word quickly spreads to everyone that she does indeed. So now Jesse is recognizing that both Cody and Carla are absolute threats because of the presence of these idols, knowing that they can play them this week, they can play them next week, they can get themselves into a Final Four as a result of it. And Jesse is very worried about it. Now, here's what's interesting. Jesse still has Cody's idol. Remember way back that knowledge is power, didn't Dwight? I think Dwight's the one that had it. That knowledge of power caused everyone to shift around the idols, and it's helped Jesse in 2 different ways. One, Jesse still has Cody's idol that Cody handed to him back then, so that if he was called out, do you have an idol, Cody could truthfully say, no, I don't. Cody never asked for it back, so Jesse's holding on to that one. Plus, Jesse still has the idol that he got by way of Janine that no one else on the island even knows about. That's brilliant. Talk about knowledge is power. He didn't have the actual advantage, but Jesse understands about this knowledge is power. So wouldn't it be sweet if somehow Jesse had a way to hold on to both of those idols and not have to give Jesse's back? Just think about that for a little bit. All right. Meanwhile, we've got Cody celebrating with Gabler because they see a potential path to Final Four. If the guys can get out these 2 women, just get out Carla, get out Cassidy. The Final Four of us guys, we battle out. What happens. Piece of cake, right? Sometimes not so much a piece of cake, but they're seeing a path. They think it's a very, very viable option to get one or the other out this week and then turn right around and get the other one out. Path to victory. So with all that going on, let's talk about the immunity challenge itself. Every week, it seems like it's a vital immunity challenge for someone. This week, probably a vital immunity challenge for just about anyone. There's no hiding when there's only 6 people left, especially when there's so many immunity idols sitting out there that have yet to be played. So it's important for everyone to win this particular one. So what is this immunity challenge? It's an obstacle course that we've seen a lot of this season. Basically, running through some nets, etc., and picking up a bag of numbered tiles. Open up the bag. You've got these different numbers that you put in different order sequences until you figure out the combination to a lock. Once you use those numbers, you're able to figure out the combination. It releases a key. Take that key to then run a little further down the obstacle course, unlock puzzle pieces, and then assemble a bat puzzle. It's a three-dimensional type puzzle, a bat hanging from a branch. First person to solve that puzzle gets the all-important immunity for the week. So as the competition starts off, Cody's actually first with the numbers. He's figured out the combination. He's gotten his key first, or he's the first to, I'll take that back. He's the first to get his bag of numbers and get to the combination lock. But Jesse is actually the first one to figure out the combination, free his key. A little bit later, we've got Cassidy and Jesse are the first to actually start their puzzles. I think it's Owen that had a little bit of a mistake. He undid his combination, ran all the way through a net, then realized he forgot to grab his key. So he's heading back. That certainly puts a time crunch on him. But we've got Cassidy and Jesse starting their puzzles first. Carla, remember Janine a while back, how she started off so far behind? She came back. She won the thing. Just such an awe-inspiring competition. Carla looks like she's starting to do the same thing. She is the last person to get to the puzzle itself, but she's solving this thing quickly. She's got it figured out. She's putting the pieces together. It looks like she could easily take this thing until cramps start kicking in. You got to figure dehydration, lack of food, running, everything that these castaways go through. It's piling up at this point in time. Carla physically cannot use her hands to put these puzzles together, and so it slowed her down and probably cost her immunity. Could it cost her the game? Well, we're going to find out, but it certainly slows her down enough to take her out of the running. And so, again, it's kind of down to Cassidy and Cody at the very end. And we're talking neck and neck. Cassidy actually thinks she has it at one point. Turns out one of the bat's wings is hanging upside down. She has to turn it around. In the end, between Cassidy and Cody, the winner of this week's immunity is Cassidy. And I say a split-second finish. Truly, I mean, it's hard to tell with two cameras and all that, but it looks like an absolute split-second victory for Cassidy in this all-important immunity competition. So Cassidy now has protection. The other 5 castaways, they're going to be battling out this evening. So who's in trouble? Is Carla in trouble? Does she use her idol at this point in time? I think both of those are valid concerns, valid options. We'll see as we go forward. So Cassidy is safe. Cassidy is safe. The possibility exists also of both Carla and Cody playing their idols. 6 people, 3 idols. That only leaves 3 people vulnerable at this particular tribal council, which means Gabler, Jesse, and Owen are all at huge risk at this point in time. But remember, Jesse still has his idol they got by way of Janine that no one else knows about. So really, you've got 4 people who could potentially be safe, and it's really perhaps Gabler and Owen who are at the biggest risk for this particular tribal council. But everyone wants to try to get to the end, right? You do everything you can to protect yourself and think forward, not just this week, but next week as well. And with that in mind, Cody is approaching Carla and saying, look, I know you got an idol, which again, Carla just got through convincing them they didn't. Well, now they know, and Carla's not even trying to hide anymore. She's saying, yeah, I did have one. But Cody's telling Carla, saying, look, rather than us both using our idols, both of us then lose any protection we have next week. Is it enough just the threat of using an idol? Is that enough to keep people from voting for us and voting for someone else to try to make sure it's not them that goes home, but that's someone else? So in other words, he's saying, let's tell everyone we're going to use our idol so no one will vote for either one of us. But then don't play them. Let's make sure we both can get to Final Four. Neither one of us will play our idol. We'll vote out Gabler and Owen since either one of them are at risk. We know they don't have idols. We'll both have our idols for the following week. Carla, you and me, Final Four guaranteed if we just don't use our idols this week. It's a great plan. I understand it protects you for yet another week, but it takes a lot of trust to do that because it makes you very vulnerable at tribal council. Does Cody trust Carla enough to go forward with this plan? Does Carla trust Cody enough to go forward with this plan? Again, a lot of trust built into to allowing yourself to be at risk when you know there's so few people who potentially are left in this game that could be going home this evening. So Cody's made the offer. Carla's accepted. But now Carla is also telling Gabler and Owen separately. She's working her own magic. Carla tells Gabler and then she tells Owen that, hey, obviously y'all two are the big ones at risk. Cody's going to play his idol. I'm going to play my idol. Y'all better vote against each other or else you're going home. And she makes some comments about when your game's on the line, when you're at risk, you'll do whatever the other people say to survive. Because Gabler's saying, yeah, sure, if I need to vote out Owen, I'll vote out Owen. And Owen's saying, sure, I'll vote out Gabler. Yeah, absolutely. You do what you take to survive just yet another week. So Carla's trying to make sure there's some votes going against other people and not coming their way at this tribal. Now, remember my statement about trust, about Carla needing to trust Cody and vice versa. Well, here's why that's a tough thing to believe in sometimes, because Cody has made this big proposition to Carla. He's now turning around talking to Owen and saying, look, I told Carla that both of us should say we're going to use it, but not use it. And now, as a result of that, we can vote out Carla. I've convinced her not to use the idol, but now let's vote her out. We'll get rid of her. We'll get rid of the idol as well. We can then go after Cassidy the following week. It's going to be us four guys. It's going to work perfectly. Yeah, don't trust anyone on this island, right? You can't trust a soul. So Cody's got it figured out. Cody is pretty proud of this plan because not only is he getting rid of Carla, not only is he getting rid of her immunity idol, but he is still saving his immunity idols. He still has his final four path to victory with the way this is going to play out. So Cody's feeling very proud of the way this is going to happen. The big question, is it going to work? Is it going to proceed the way he thinks it does? But he is incredibly happy as well with this alliance that he has with Jesse. And it does seem like he wants to go to the final two with Jesse. He's comfortable. I think Cody's comfortable thinking that he can own his game over Jesse if it came down to the final three, I guess, in Survivor. So he's feeling pretty comfortable with his relationship that he's had with Jesse throughout this season. But Jesse, on the other hand, is not certain that such a big move that Cody is proposing really benefits anyone as much as Cody. He understands if this works, Cody's going to be up in the final three potential talking to the jury and saying, I'm the one that blindsided Carla, got rid of her idol, got my pathway to the final four and to the final three. It's a huge resume builder for Cody. Jesse's thinking, I don't really want to have Cody up there with so much better on his resume than mine. Remember that comment that Gabler made about y'all's games are somewhat interchangeable? Well, now he's saying that that Cody's got something that Jesse wouldn't have if they come through the plan. So as proud as Cody is of the plan, it hadn't happened yet. And Jesse specifically says, I don't want to be seen at the end as Cody's number two. And remember this, Jesse hadn't won any competitions, I don't think. So he's really going to need to count on promoting everything he's did strategically to win this competition. He doesn't want someone up there that can claim more strategic moves than himself and some competition and victories as well. So Jesse's certainly not on board as much as Cody is. And Jesse actually mentions that, hey, everyone's so saying, oh, it's such a great experience to play the game and all that. Jesse said, I want the money. If it takes being a little more brutal at this point in time, maybe it's time. That's the way you need to play the game. That's what we as fans like to see. Develop relationships, do all of that, but you play for that title every single time. All right, we've got Jesse talking about this to Owen. and actually finally spilling the beans to Owen the fact that, yeah, Cody doesn't have the idol. I've got the idol, and I'm still holding on to it, which surprises Owen. It would surprise me if I was on that island. Why has Cody not asked for this idol back before? But he's telling Owen about this. He's saying, look, the plan could be I will play Cody's idol so that Cody can't play it. And then Carla, when she sees an idol being played for real, will probably play her idol. So we'll flush her idol out. We'll then vote for Cody. And Carla will then be unprotected for the following week. So we can get her out. So Jesse's now thinking Jesse and Owen and Gabler and Cassidy may be his preferred path to Final Four. So he's proposing this to Owen. Owen, knowing that he and Gabler are huge targets this week, is all on board saying, yeah, absolutely, bring it on. I love watching Owen play this game. Owen is riding the edge so many times, so many weeks where Owen was outside the majority vote. He was at risk. He was easily the target. And somehow he just hangs on by a thread every single time. It seems like he's got salvation yet again. So, of course, Owen is still on board with all this. And remember this, with this plan that Jesse's got, he still has an idol for next week. He hasn't told anyone. He'll have a guaranteed path to Final Four that Owen and the others still don't know about. Perfect plan, right? Well, kind of a perfect plan until Cody has now asked for Jesse to give him his idol so that he can show Carla. And how did that work out? I don't know. For all this time, suddenly now Cody wants it. Very, very strange timing. But Cody has asked for it. Jesse can't not give it to him without raising suspicion. So he does give it to him. The last we see really is him telling Owen, saying, yeah, I know tribal council is going to be here pretty quick, but I'm going to see if I can get it back. Going into tribal, we don't know whether that is the case or not. So let's talk about tribal council before we wrap this up. At tribal council, of course, Carla and Cody both say that they're going to play the idols. Sometimes the threat of playing an idol is every bit as strong as whether you actually play it or not, just because who wants to waste a vote in such a situation? So they're both saying they're going to play the idol as we expected. Cody is saying that he's about 95% sure the votes are going the way he thinks they're going to go, which is against Carla. Carla doesn't realize that, but he's about 95% certain that's the case. And with that, we go to the votes themselves. The votes are in, but the big question before Jeff reads the votes out, are there any idols being played? Well, we got a lot of hesitation taking place, but finally, Jesse stands up. Now, remember, Jesse has his own idol. He was holding on to Cody's. What's happening here? Jesse has played an idol, Cody's idol, on behalf of Owen. I think Jesse realized that he really wasn't at risk this evening, so he's playing it to protect Owen, and he's building a lot of trust with Owen. Owen sees it being played on him. He knows he's safe. He's going to carry that forward to next week, right? He's going to be a little more willing to vote for Jesse. So I thought it was brilliant. Not only that Jesse plays Cody's idol and gets rid of it, but that he saves Owen. He builds up a little credit as well. So Jesse's played the idol on behalf of Owen. Carla gets nervous as they expected. So she plays her idol also on behalf of her. She's not protecting anyone else. And so we've got two people protected. Owen is safe and Carla is safe. Cody, seeing some writing on the wall, getting a little bit nervous at the point in time, as he should, because the votes come in. First vote, Owen, which we find out came from Carla. Next vote for Carla, which came from Cody. And the next three votes, Cody. A huge blindside. One of the best blindsides, one of the best played out blindsides I've seen in a long time. Jesse did what he needed to do at this point in time. I still don't know, why did Cody give this idol back to Jesse? I just want to find out what was going through his head, because it cost him. If he was holding on to it at tribal, he could have used it. Does he think there's still a knowledge of power out there that maybe someone has? I don't know. Sometimes you get so nervous, so paranoid that you overcompensate. I think that's what happened with Cody at this point in time. It doesn't matter. Cody is gone. Huge. Cody looks a little upset. I think it's just shock and dismay. Eventually he stands up. He gives Jesse a hug. I love seeing good gameplay, sportsmanship. He knows he got. He applauds everyone for the move, takes it well after the initial shock wears off. We lost Cody, such a great player this season. Oh my gosh, I loved watching this guy play. Remember at the very beginning, the salesman was saying, I can't trust salesmen out here. I got to get rid of all of them. Love seeing Cody play, but Cody is now a member of the jury. A huge blindside. Jesse just made the play that could potentially win him the game. What a big thing to talk about at Tribal Council. And all the jury was sitting right there at this Tribal Council watching it in action. It's going to be a huge selling point for Jesse. Now, the concern with that is that everyone else saw that as well. Everyone's got to be looking at Jesse as a bit of a strategic threat, a huge strategic threat right now, right? I think there's going to be a lot of move next week to potentially try to get Jesse out the door off the island because of this move right here. But what they don't understand or they don't realize, Jesse still has that idol. So I think you could see next week everyone teaming up to vote out Jesse. And then Jesse casting a vote and deciding who goes off the island in fifth place by a single vote. If everyone else votes against him, I could see something like that happen, or him and Owen deciding who goes home and who makes it to the final four. I think Jesse's in a fantastic position of power. His one area of concern is going to be going from final four to final three. I think that's going to be difficult, but other than that, Jesse's in the driver's seat right now. And how amazing. He hasn't won any competition, but it's strictly strategic play that's gotten him to this point. I'm loving this season. I'm loving this game. I'm loving watching Jesse play. All right. With that being said, next week, it's for all the marbles. It's going to be a fantastic episode. Anyone left deserves to win this thing. So I'll be happy regardless of how it works out. But what a fantastic episode tonight. It was just amazing. All right, guys, y'all have a great one. I will see y'all next week. Until then, SKD143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.